U.S. disaster aid won't cover crops drowned by Midwest floods. Malvern, Iowa, April 2. Reuters. The Black Hawk military helicopter flew over Iowa, giving a senior U.S. agriculture official and U.S. senator an eyeful of the flood damage below, where yellow corn from ruptured metal silos spilled out into the muddy water. And there's nothing the U.S. government can do about the millions of bushels of damaged crops here under current laws or disaster aid programs, U.S. Agriculture Under Secretary Bill Northey told a Reuters reporter who joined the flight. The USDA has no mechanism to compensate farmers for damaged crops and storage, Northey said, a problem never before seen on this scale. That's in part, the USDA last year made $12 billion in aid available to farmers who suffered trade war losses, without needing congressional approval. The agency but it has no program to cover the catastrophic and largely uninsured, stored crop losses from the widespread flooding, triggered by the bomb. It's Indigo AG, an agriculture technology company, identified 832 on-farm storage bins within flooded Midwest areas. They hold an estimate across the United States. Farmers held soybean stocks of 2.716 billion bushels as of March 1, the largest on record for the time period, the USDA said on Friday. Corn stocks. Some Congress members have expressed interest in pursuing legislation to provide aid for damaged crops and storage, Northey said. But passing if with farm incomes declining for years before the flood, many farmers had planned to sell their grain in storage for money to live, pay their taxes or finance operations, including planting this spring. Throwing away crops. From the helicopter, piloted by National Guard members, officials surveyed miles of flooded fields in Iowa, littered with lawn chairs, fuel tanks, furniture, tires, and other flood debris. Farmers will have to destroy any grains that were contaminated by floodwater, which could also prevent some growers from planting oversaturated fields. Near Crescent, Iowa, farmer Don Reef said the flood damaged more than 60,000 bushels of his grain, worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. He tried to move The USDA does not have a program that covers flood-damaged grain because farmers have typically received more advance notice of rising waters, allowing them to move crops and limit losses, said Tom Vilsack, who ran the agency under former President Barack Obama. In this case, floods inundated fields quickly after multiple levees failed when rain and melting snow filled the Missouri River and other waterways. The frozen ground near Percival, Iowa, railroad tracks leading up to a grain facility were flooded and broken. A Deere & Co. Some farmers moved machinery such as tractors onto highways to keep it out of the path of the floods. The equipment was about 416,000 acres of cropland across 6 counties in Iowa were flooded, said Amanda DeJong, State Executive Director for the USDA Iowa Farm Service Agency. Of that, about 309,000 acres will be eligible for the federal program that helps farmers and ranchers remove debris left by natural disasters on farmlands, DeJong said last week. She estimated Iowa's Agriculture Secretary Mike Nakes said the U.S. government also should help compensate farmers for some of the grain that was damaged. This time is short for a solution, said Carol Vinton, supervisor of Mills County, Iowa, one of the state's 2 most heavily damaged counties. Vinton said she was getting calls from farmers whose grain was damaged and are worried about making good on previously signed contracts to deliver those crops to elevators. The USDA wants to do everything it can to help farmers hurt by the disaster, Northey said. Reporting by Tom Polansek in Malvern, Iowa. Additional reporting.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.